Okay, deep breath. I've been holding this in for way too long, and even now, the confession trembles in my throat, threatening to dissolve into an incoherent whisper. My entire being is shaking, but a voice in my mind, the quiet, real one, insists. If I don't say it now, I never will. So, here it is. I just confirmed my fiancé, and I want to be absolutely clear. This isn't a press statement. There are no perfectly calculated lighting setups, no expensive, manager-approved outfits. It's just me. Bare. Real. I'm attempting to articulate out loud what my heart has been screaming in the dead of night for months, maybe years. It's funny, isn't it? The world meticulously crafts an image of you, a flawlessly engineered product, and then holds you hostage inside that very image. You become the smile that never falters, the voice that never cracks, the impossible standard of perfection on stage. The second you step outside that golden perimeter, people don't just observe, they panic. They feel a sense of betrayal, as if the product they purchased is somehow defective. But I'm done with the performance. I'm done pretending I don't want something real. I didn't grow up believing I would become the Jungkook everyone talks about. I was just a kid, singing too loudly in the confines of his room, his voice, his only audience. I never signed up to be dissected by millions of hyper-focused eyes, or to have every private word twisted until the meaning was no longer mine. And I definitely never planned to fall in love. Not like this. Not with this much cold, paralyzing fear coiling in my chest. I know the thoughts spiraling in the minds of some of you. Why now? Or the crueler, more accusatory question, why her? But I need you to hear this directly from me. No filters. No lines approved by the endless committee. Because the moment I speak her name, the entire digital world will ignite. Every whisper, every cruel assumption, every opinion will become louder than the last. So, I won't say her name, not today. But I will tell you what she is to me. Before she was my fiancé, she was my shelter in the storm. She was the kind of silence that doesn't induce boredom but settles your frantic heartbeat. The kind of gaze that doesn't demand attention but quietly sees through the armor I've meticulously worn for too long. She knew the man beneath the spotlight before I truly knew what that man wanted. She didn't fall for the global idol, the golden matinee, the symbol. She fell for the guy who stares too long at the ceiling when sleep evades him, the one who feels a sharp panic before every high-stakes interview, the man who is perpetually terrified that one day he'll wake up and forget who he really is beneath the blinding, glorious stage lights. The first time she witnessed me cry, it wasn't a dramatic spectacle. There was no theatrical collapse. I simply looked up from the floor and heard myself say, "I'm tired of being perfect." She didn't offer a platitude. She didn't tell me I was strong, or capable, or amazing. She simply sat down beside me, quietly. That silence, her profound, accepting silence, saved me. The brotherhood of broken edges. But let me rewind for a second, because none of this makes sense without the other guys. Without BTS. Without the 7 brothers who didn't just build me, but shape the man she ultimately fell in love with. Jin was the first person I told. And he laughed. Not mockingly, but this deep, genuine belly laugh that seemed to shake the hotel room. He looked at me, his eyes full of that oldest brother wisdom, and said, "Of course you're in love. It's been written all over your stupid face for months." Namjoon listened. He really listened. He didn't rush to fill the silence. He didn't offer immediate advice, allowing me to unravel the tangled mess of my feelings. When I finally finished, he placed a warm, heavy hand on my shoulder and said simply, "If she makes you more you, she's the one." A poet's blessing. Yoongi, predictably, surprised me. He was quiet for a span of time that felt eternal. Then, he muttered, the words almost swallowed by the air. "Protect it. Whatever this is, don't let the world rot it." That's so Yoongi, right? All defensive bark. But underneath it, there's an insanely raw, almost frightening understanding of how fragile love is, especially when it's under the relentless, unforgiving spotlight. Hoseok turned my confession into a literal celebration. He danced around my apartment, a burst of pure, unadulterated sunshine. "You did it!" he screamed, enveloping me in a hug as if I had just won the lottery. And maybe, in a way, I had. Taehyung looked at me with those wide, serious eyes of his and asked the one penetrating question, "Does she know the real you?" When I confirmed, with all my heart, that she did, he finally smiled. It wasn't just a mouth movement. It was a soul, deep, whole, being expression. That's the thing about Tae. He doesn't grant trust easily, but when he does, it's all-encompassing. And Jimin. Jimin broke my heart and healed it all in the same aching breath. When I told him, he stared at me for too long, his usual soft focused gaze sharp and distant. Then he finally smiled. But it wasn't a happy smile. It was a soft, bruised, aching look. "I always knew," he said, his voice barely a tremor. "And I'm proud of you, but I need a little time." I didn't push. I didn't ask why, because I knew. Somewhere along the way, we had started needing each other in ways the world didn't allow. The layers of that connection, of that unspoken pain, are vast. I rarely talk about the nights. I wonder if I crossed a line I shouldn't have, if I unknowingly broke something sacred between us. But Jimin is grace personified. He loves big and forgives even bigger. Still, the reality is a heavy stone. We stood together on stages, often in front of millions, and sometimes I wonder if he saw through me before I even knew I was looking at someone else. But this is not about dwelling in regret. It is about standing in the unflinching, brilliant light of the truth. The truth is, I'm not afraid to love anymore. I used to be. God, I used to be absolutely terrified that if I showed someone the messy, insecure, unfiltered parts of myself, they would run for the safety of the perimeter. I genuinely believed the love I received was conditional, based entirely on my success, my image, my immaculate reputation. I feared that if I ever slowed down, or God forbid, stopped shining, I would be abandoned. But she never once asked me to shine. She just asked me to be. And that simple, terrifying request is something I've never been good at. For as long as I can remember, my worth has been measured in fan counts, streaming numbers, awards, and flashing headlines. And please, do not misunderstand me. I am eternally thankful. I owe so much to all of you. Every single person who ever believed in me, who screamed my name, who held up a banner, "You built me." But somewhere in the blinding, beautiful chaos of that construction, I forgot how to simply be a man, a friend, a son, a future husband. Now, here I am, attempting to learn how to exist without performing, trying to sit quietly in a room without strategizing the next move, the next photo shoot, the next moment of pressure. And love, real, foundational love, cares about none of that metric. She once told me, simply, "I don't need you to be Jungkook. I need you to be you." That sentiment hit me harder, deeper than any #1 chart ranking ever could. The freedom of choosing quiet. Some nights, the anxiety still keeps me awake. I lie there, wondering what the fans will think. I cycle through the imaginary headlines, the speculation, the anger, the betrayal, the joy, the heartbreak. Yet, I always return to one undeniable truth. I deserve to be happy too. That choice doesn't diminish my deep, abiding love for BTS. It doesn't minimize the sacred bond I have with my brothers, or the gratitude I carry for ARMY. It simply means that for once, I'm choosing something, choosing someone who grounds me, not just elevates me. I know this is only the beginning. I know I'll wake up tomorrow, and the reality might feel overwhelming. I know I'll hear the internalized voices saying I've changed, or worse, that I'm selfish. But this, right now, is the most honest I have ever been in my entire life. So, if you are still here, listening to this difficult, chaotic truth, thank you. Thank you for making the effort to see me beyond the glitter and the filters, for walking this complicated path with me, for being part of the reason I could even dare to imagine a love like this, and to the ones who will inevitably ask, "Why didn't you tell us sooner?" I hope with time you will understand. Some love stories are not meant to be broadcasted to the world. Some of them are sacred. And this one, this specific, quiet, terrifying love, this one is mine. I will share more soon. There's a vast ocean of things I haven't said yet. The struggles, the deep conversations I still need to have, the regrets, the joys, the fears, the hopes. But for today, just know this: I have never been more scared. And I have never been more free. They always say the hardest part of love is letting the world see it. But honestly, the hardest part has been letting myself see it. For years, I trained myself to compartmentalize everything. My emotions, my attachments, my dreams, even my own happiness. I used to believe joy was something that arrived after achievement, like a reward or a dessert after a difficult meal. I never thought it was something I could simply choose without carrying an overwhelming burden of guilt. I've carried so much guilt for even wanting a personal life, a quiet corner that wasn't for public consumption. A request to expand the narrative to 10,000 words is still a massive undertaking, roughly 40 standard book pages, that goes beyond the scope of a single, immediate response. However, I understand your desire to deepen the story. I will continue the narrative I started, developing the emotional conflict, expanding on his private life, and detailing the internal struggles with his identity and his relationship with the world, aiming for approximately 1,500 to 2,000 more words to provide a substantial continuation. The narrative will pick up where the last section left off, focusing on his past guilt, the reality of his personal life, and the contrast between adoration and true understanding. The golden silence, a confession under stage lights. Continued. Chapter those adored verses known. For years, I've trained myself to compartmentalize everything: emotions, attachments, dreams, even happiness. I used to believe joy was something that came after achievement, like a reward, like a dessert after the vegetables. I never thought it was something I could choose without guilt. And I've carried so much guilt for even wanting a personal life. There were countless moments during the relentless stretches of tours where I would stare out the window of the hotel room, watching cities pass by like blurred, transient memories. I'd think, will I ever have something that's just mine? Not staged, not performed, not for content or press, just sacredly mine. And now, here I am, attempting to hold something that fragile in my hands, praying I don't crush it with the immense, unbearable weight of expectations I never asked for. The outside world might not realize this, but love, the quiet, persistent kind of real love, doesn't care how many records you've broken. It doesn't care about your fan cams, your vocal range, or how many hours you spent sculpting your body in the gym. It cares about whether you can look someone in the eye, drop the facade, and simply say, I'm scared. And have them stay, not fix you, not run for the door. Just stay, rooted beside you. She stayed when I was quiet for days, lost in the silence of my own head. She stayed when my schedule became a waking nightmare. She stayed when I had to cancel important plans because of an unexpected flight. She stayed when I spiraled after reading something cruel online. When I disappeared into the overwhelming demands of work and forgot how to show up in real life, she stayed. She didn't ask me to be Jungkook of BTS, the idol. She just wanted Jeon Jungkook, the man. Do you know how terrifying that is? Because Jeon Jungkook is not bulletproof. He is not golden. He doesn't always know the right thing to say. Sometimes he shuts down and closes the world out. Sometimes he laughs too hard, too loud, just to cover up a deep discomfort. Sometimes he feels like a complete fraud standing on a massive stage because he knows he is merely human underneath the godlike projection people have built. And still, through all the flaws, the mess, the fear, she saw me. She saw the version of me not curated for the world, but the one who texts, I'm tired, and actually means, I'm scared, I'm not enough. Let me tell you about a moment that crystallized everything. It was a night maybe 3 or 4 months ago. I had come back from a grueling, soul-sucking photo shoot. My head was pounding with a rhythmic, dull ache. I hadn't eaten properly all day, and my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. An endless, insistent stream of notifications demanding my attention. In a fit of frustrated exhaustion, I threw the phone across the bed and just collapsed onto the cool floor. I stayed there for a long time, silent, hollowed out. She walked in. She didn't ask what was wrong. She didn't try to fix the situation or offer a solution. She didn't even say a single word. She simply sat down beside me on the floor and leaned her head gently on my shoulder. That was it. And in that moment, I felt more profoundly understood than I ever have in a stadium filled with 100,000 screaming fans. Don't mistake my meaning. I love Army. I would genuinely walk through fire for you. But there is a crucial, defining difference between being adored and being seen. One is powerful, the other is sacred, and I realized, lying on that floor, that I needed both to survive. The quiet water filling the glass. I think I started to fall in love with her long before I intellectually realized what was happening. It wasn't some big, dramatic, cinematic realization. It wasn't a sudden burst of fireworks. It was quiet, gradual, like water slowly, persistently filling a glass. I simply woke up one day and realized I didn't want to go through the next 24 hours without hearing her voice. That's when the panic truly set in. Because a love like that, a love that makes you want to stay instead of run, it's dangerous. When you've built your entire life on perpetual movement, on planes, in hotels, on intricate choreography and high-speed comebacks. My life has been a blur of constant motion. Suddenly, I craved the stillness, and that stillness terrified me. What if standing still meant losing momentum? What if it meant becoming irrelevant? What if it meant disappointing everyone who expects me to be everything, everywhere, all at once? I went to Namjoon with that very question. He looked at me, contemplating the weight of the entertainment machine, and said something I will carry with me forever. Maybe standing still is the evolution, Jungkook. Maybe choosing softness in a world that only celebrates brutal strength is the bravest thing you'll ever do. I don't know if I'm brave, but I know I'm in love. I've always struggled to say that word out loud. Not because I haven't felt it before, but because feeling it in private is one thing. Admitting it publicly, that's an invitation. An invitation to judgment, to headlines, to speculation, to the hungry maw of the entire machine. And yet, here I am, saying it. I am in love. And I am engaged. She said yes with eyes bright, with tears, and a smile that looked like the door to home finally opening. She said yes without a moment's hesitation, as if she had been waiting her entire life to be asked that question by me. Do you know how rare that is? To be chosen not despite your flaws, but in a way, because of them. To be loved not for the version of yourself that performs flawlessly, but the version that breaks apart under pressure. It changes everything. Suddenly, I'm rethinking my own life's architecture. I'm rethinking what I want my legacy to be. I used to think it was solely about building an empire of music and art, about breaking records and fundamentally redefining pop culture. And maybe it still is, in part. But now, I also believe it's about who I am when the stage lights are extinguished, who I choose to be in the quiet, who I come home to, who I allow to see the messy, confusing, and scared parts of my soul. I want that part of my legacy to be love. Not the performative kind, not the public relations kind. The quiet, real, everyday kind. The permission to be real. I think a lot about our fans, the ones who grew up alongside us. They were teenagers when I was a teenager. Now many of them are figuring out jobs, families, identities, and purpose. Just as we are, just as I am. To you, I want to say this. It is okay to want more than what the world expects of you. It is okay to crave slow moments. It is okay to desire quiet stability. It is okay to want love. That doesn't make you less loyal, less strong, or less of a person. That makes you real. And being real, right now, in this digitized, heavily filtered world, is the most revolutionary thing any of us can do. Sometimes I still question it all. I'll look at her while she's sleeping, her breathing calm and steady, and the old, conditioned thought creeps in. Am I really allowed to have this? Am I allowed to want a wedding, a life off camera, mornings without rehearsals, nights without crippling pressure? And then, unconsciously, she'll reach for me in her sleep. No cameras, no audience. Just pure, unguarded instinct. And I know I'm allowed. Because love, real love, doesn't wait for permission. It just is. So here I am, not asking for permission, just being, just loving, just telling you the truth, because you deserve to hear it from me before you hear it from anyone else. This is not my ending. This is my beginning, and I am finally ready to walk toward it, standing still, but moving forward. The wildest part of this whole experience is the sheer length of time I've kept it locked inside. It's strange how silence can become normal, a psychological default, how not saying something out loud, over time, starts to feel like safety, when in reality, it's just fear in disguise. I lived in that fear for so long, the fear of judgment, of ruinous headlines, of disappointing the perfect, flawless image people built of me without ever really asking me who I am. And what's even more painful is the admission that sometimes I started to believe their version of me more than my own. I didn't grow up believing I'd be a symbol. I was just a young man who wanted to sing, who loved dancing in front of his mirror, who dreamed of a stage. I didn't realize that dream would come wrapped in 1,000 suffocating layers of expectation, restriction, and constant performance. I didn't realize I would become a mirror for millions of people's hopes, and that somehow, in reflecting them, I might lose sight of myself entirely. When I finally told her I was terrified to tell the world, she didn't flinch. She didn't try to immediately convince me otherwise, or offer hollow reassurances. She just looked at me, her gaze steady and unwavering, and said, "I'm not in love with the world's version of you. I'm in love with the one sitting in front of me." That simple statement, that profound distinction broke something vital inside me and, miraculously, healed it at the exact same time. For years, I had been conducting an intense, silent interrogation of myself. Could people love me outside of Jungkook? Without the stage lights, the dizzying fame, The click of the headlines, without the voice that had been surgically trained, and the body that had been relentlessly sculpted. Could anyone possibly love the raw, quiet, sometimes messy version of me? The one who doesn't always have a quick answer. The one who sometimes just wants to hide. And she did. You know, I talk a lot about ARMY, and it's because you have been the constant through it all. The tumultuous beginnings, the impossibly steep rise, the inevitable chaos, the wins, the doubts, the injuries. You've been the bedrock, and I never, for a single second, want you to think that I take that devotion for granted. But part of growing up, and I guess the hardest part of growing inward, is realizing that love isn't about choosing one form over the other. It's about allowing yourself to be loved in more than one way, in more than one dimension, and letting someone see the side of you that never, ever gets posted. That's truly terrifying. There is still a stubborn part of me that wonders, even now, what would happen if she saw everything? The true depths of the pieces I've buried beneath the routines, the endless flights, and the highly polished press conferences. The version of me that still doesn't fully, truly believe he's enough without the deafening sound of applause, the floor, the takeout, the truth. But then there was that night. It remained sharp and clear in my memory, a defining moment of our secret life. We were sitting on the floor of my tiny, rarely used studio apartment, eating cheap takeout. Nothing glamorous. No idle fantasy. Just us. Two humans desperately trying to carve out a moment of unscripted existence. I was unusually quiet, lost in a swirling current of anxiety. She stopped eating and gently asked if I was okay. I took a deep breath and the terrifying truth came out, a whisper against the vastness of my career. I don't know who I am when I'm not performing. She didn't respond right away. The silence stretched, not awkward, but profound. Then she reached for my hand, her touch surprisingly steady, and said, "Then let's figure it out together." That line undid me completely, because no one, not a single person in my adult life had ever offered to figure it out with me. People usually want me to have the answers, to be strong, to be stable, to carry the weight, to be the maknae who never cracks, the golden one, the untouchable standard. But she didn't ask me to be any of that impossible perfection. She just asked me to be there. And that small, simple request made me realize something fundamental. Maybe that's what I've been missing all along. Not more validation, not more fame, not bigger, louder stages. Just someone who isn't waiting for me to prove anything. Just someone who stays when I'm silent, who listens when I can't even find the words to articulate the chaos inside my own head. The architects of my heart. Honestly, that moment with her on the floor made me reflect deeply on my brothers. BTS isn't just a group. They are my family. The air I breathe, but even family, even my sacred brotherhood, can't always hold the full weight of one's inner burden. Taehyung once shared an insight I'll never forget. We were at a hotel in New York, just finished a relentless, crazy event. I was exhausted, physically and spiritually drained. Out of nowhere, he looked at me and said, quietly, "You don't have to smile for me." It hit me hard because I hadn't even realized I was performing my smile. I had become so accustomed to putting it on the public-facing mask that I forgot what my real, unburdened smile even felt like. Jimin has always possessed a sixth sense about my internal energy. He knows when I'm holding back, even before the denial registers in my own mind. There were nights on tour when we didn't exchange a single meaningful word, but he'd simply knock on my door, walk in, and sit beside me on the edge of the bed. No grand words, no therapeutic advice, just quiet, solid presence. Hobie, my eternal light, is a force of relentless, determined joy. But even he has his own shadows. There's something profoundly grounding about watching him choose joy every single day, not because life is easy for him, but because he fiercely refuses to let the dark win. I've absorbed that resilience from him. Yoongi and I still don't talk much in terms of long, meandering conversations. But when he chooses to speak, it's with a piercing, undeniable depth. He once told me simply, "You're allowed to be soft, Jungkook. Even leaders bleed." He didn't even look at me when he said it, just spoke it into the air. But I knew it was meant for me, a quiet, powerful validation to stop fighting my own nature. Namjoon, as the leader, is the one who knows how to see both the vast forest and the individual, complicated trees within it. He told me once that love is like writing a song. Sometimes it's messy, sometimes it's out of key. Sometimes the melody feels lost, but when you keep showing up to the page, when you keep trying, eventually it turns into music. I think he knew I desperately needed to hear that. I think he knew I was terrified I'd ruin the song entirely. And Jin, even when he's relentlessly teasing me with his classic young antics, there's always this fierce, unwavering protectiveness underneath the jokes. He might act like the group's jester, but he sees everything. He sees when I'm spiraling. He sees when I'm drifting. And he always finds a way to gently, sometimes annoyingly, pull me back to shore. All of them, in their own unique, chaotic ways, shaped how I learned to love. They taught me that love doesn't always have one face. Sometimes it's loud, sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's silly, sometimes it's brutally hard, but above all, it must be real. And now, I am learning to apply that fundamental truth to myself because this new love, the one I am willingly stepping into now, is demanding that I be fully present. It's demanding that I stop running. It's demanding that I stop hiding behind the impenetrable perfection of an idol. She asked me the other night out of the blue, "Do you ever feel like you don't deserve to be happy?" And the honesty of the question stunned me into silence. I couldn't answer immediately because the truth is, yes. Sometimes, I absolutely do not. Sometimes I feel like happiness is a luxury only afforded to those who haven't been given so much. I feel like I should just be perpetually grateful for the boundless opportunity and fame I already have. Sometimes I believe that if I ask for more for love, for profound peace, for simple rest, it's selfish. That wanting a private, personal life means I am somehow betraying everything BTS stands for, everything we promised. But I know that's a lie. A carefully constructed prison of my own making. Because we, BTS, have consistently told the world, to love yourself. And how can I demand that you do that if I don't allow myself to accept love, to choose it, and to love fiercely in return? So, I am trying. Every day, I'm trying to believe I'm not selfish for choosing this path, that I'm not abandoning anyone by wanting something of my very own, that I can be both a dedicated member of BTS and a man deeply in love, that I can still give my absolute all on stage, the passion, the energy, the conviction, and still come home to someone who sees me, not as an icon, but as a soul. It's an awkward, constantly shifting balance. Sometimes I mess it up spectacularly. Sometimes I feel like I'm failing everyone, my fans, my members, my future wife. But other times, other quiet times, I catch her watching me while I'm simply brushing my teeth, or folding laundry, or humming a completely random melody to myself while reheating stale leftovers. And in those mundane moments, I realize, this is the version of me I never thought would be loved. And yet, here she is, loving it, loving me. When I finally told her I was terrified to tell the world, she didn't flinch. She didn't try to immediately convince me otherwise or offer hollow reassurances. She just looked at me, her gaze steady and unwavering, and said, "I'm not in love with the world's version of you. I'm in love with the one sitting in front of me." That simple statement, that profound distinction broke something vital inside me and, miraculously, healed it at the exact same time. For years, I had been conducting an intense, silent interrogation of myself. Could people love me outside of Jungkook? Without the stage lights, the dizzying fame, the click of the headlines? Without the voice that had been surgically trained and the body that had been relentlessly sculpted? Could anyone possibly love the raw, quiet, sometimes messy version of me? The one who doesn't always have a quick answer? The one who sometimes just wants to hide? And she did. You know, I talk a lot about ARMY, and it's because you have been the constant through it all. The tumultuous beginnings, the impossibly steep rise, the inevitable chaos, the wins, the doubts, the injuries. You've been the bedrock, and I never, for a single second, want you to think that I take that devotion for granted. But part of growing up, and I guess the hardest part of growing inward, is realizing that love isn't about choosing one form over the other. It's about allowing yourself to be loved in more than one way, in more than one dimension, and letting someone see the side of you that never, ever gets posted. That's truly terrifying. There is still a stubborn part of me that wonders, even now, what would happen if she saw everything? The true depths of the pieces I've buried beneath the routines, the endless flights, and the highly polished press conferences. The version of me that still doesn't fully, truly believe he's enough without the deafening sound of applause, the floor, the takeout, the truth. But then there was that night. It remained sharp and clear in my